Hello everyone, welcome to yet another installment of Layman's View. This is where we review a week that was. So you would expect that there were not much big stories, but nothing could be further from the truth. This week had so many big breaking stories, and here on Layman's View we'll review those stories. I'm Ntobeko Khuluse. But before we get started, please do these 4 or 5 things for me. 1, please subscribe on this channel. Subscribing is absolutely free. You pay nothing for subscribing. So please do it right now. Please like this video. Go into the comment section and comment with your stories that stood out for you. Also, you may share this video with your friends and family members. Lastly, join as a member. If you join as a member, you only contribute 9 rands 99 cents. So please go ahead and do those 5 things for me. The most important thing out of those things is subscribing. Subscribing is absolutely free, so our channel can continue to grow and so we can continue giving you the content that you deserve. Now let's look at a week that was. What are some of the stories that stood out for me this week? While I'm telling you the stories that stood out for me this week, please feel free to go into the comment section and tell me your stories as well that stood out for you, or comment about some of the stories that I'll be talking about. So let's get started. 1, it has to be the story of 3 police officers that went missing for days, and they were traveling to Limpopo, and no one knew where they disappeared to. So Amapoyisa, there was an investigation that ensued, and a search. They were looking for these police officers, and sadly, they were found in Johannesburg Centurion in a river, and they were no more. 3 of them were found, and it was confirmed that it's them, and they had passed already. And what surprised most people about this case is that where they were found, there were 2 other bodies that were found. One body was decomposed, and the other body, it was of another police officer from another police station. So now people are trying to figure out what is going on here. And there were a lot of conspiracy theories because now people were looking at these police officers were traveling, and now they are found in a river, and in this river there are other bodies. And I know that some people said maybe there might be a serial killer. There were just a lot of conspiracy theories that ensued, mainly because indlela abashone ngayo ibingaziwa noma namanje ayikaziwa, and people started being suspicious ukuthi something is fishy here. And then on Friday, in fact on Thursday, Wednesday night, some parts of the car bumper, front and rear bumpers, were found from that river. And then on Thursday, they found the actual car in the river as well. And I think most people tell uma ngabe sekutholakala imoto emfuleni baqala babone ngathi kungenzeka ukuthi mhlambe bathe bedriver kwaba iaccident, imoto yaphuma emgaqweni yaphosekela Henops River lo mfula batholakala kuona in Centurion. So abaningi bakholelwa lokho ukuthi maybe it was just an accident, as they were driving and their car, it was an accident, or it capsized and it fell into the river. But there are people that are still saying no, man. If you look at the road where there is the barrier, the damaged barrier, they are saying that barrier has been damaged for months now. And while other people are saying, yes, it might have been damaged for months, but it doesn't mean because it was damaged back then by another accident, it can't be damaged now again. It doesn't mean the accident didn't happen there. So there are a lot of conspiracy theories that are currently taking place. But for me, what I would like to say, my heart goes out to the families, of these police officers that lost their lives, all 4 of them, and the one person as well that was found in the river. So my heart goes out to them. May their souls rest in peace, and the families, may they find strength. But having said that, I would just like to also mention that the rescue workers that were working there, they were really dedicated. The hard work that they put in there, and probably they do this every day, but because they were doing it on TV, in front of cameras, we all as a nation got an opportunity to witness them in action. And they were so dedicated. They worked so hard in making sure that they get to the bottom of the truth. There's a saying that our politicians like, that says they will leave no stone unturned. We will leave no stone unturned. Those rescue workers, they left no stone unturned. I know that they were from different departments within the SAPS and probably from the private sector as well, but the work that they put in there was amazing, and we really appreciate their work, because the families that are currently mourning, they managed to find some closure, because of their work. I know that the full truth is not yet out, and we hope that the police will continue with the investigation until we know exactly what happened. Because if you listen to the story, I listened to the police commissioner, National Police Commissioner, Fana Mesemula, who said there's no clear sign of what happened. There's nothing that you can say, I can see the bullet, if you can see the bullet. There's none of that. There's nothing clear to say this is what led to their death. So we are truly hoping that the investigations that the police officers are currently undergoing, those investigations will lead to the truth, and those families, the mourning families, to finally find closure, full closure, knowing exactly what happened to their loved ones. But that's one story that for me stood out this week. I think it was a huge story. When they went missing, the entire country stopped, basically, to say what is going on here, because police officers, these are people that risk their lives every day to protect us. And then we complain, saying they are not doing their jobs, while there are dedicated police officers that are really doing their jobs, but we hardly applaud those. And then they put their lives at risk, and now when they just go missing, that's unacceptable. But now we know that they are no more. We don't know the full truth. We suspect, there are suspicions, but we don't know if that's the truth. We'll wait for the truth to come out. While we wait for the truth to come out, I don't know what you made of this story. From the police going missing to their bodies being found, under the river, all the way to the cars being found, but as well as the other 2 bodies that were found, near these police officers, because that is what is making this whole thing suspicious, and that's making people to come up with all sorts of conspiracy theories to say, if it was an accident, then what about the other 2 bodies? So I don't know what you make of that story, but please go into the comment section and share your thoughts and views on this story. That's the first story that stood out for me. It was definitely a big story of the week, and probably it will still continue, because the police investigation is still happening. So as it unfolds and as the media reports, we'll keep on coming here on Podcast Radio and stuff and giving you those updates and our thoughts and views on those stories. But please do share your thoughts and views on the comment section as well on that first story. Another story that stood out for me, it has to be the verdict on Joshlin Smith's case. You would remember that Joshlin Smith went missing last year, and her mom became a suspect. Not only her, but her boyfriend, as well as their friend. And yesterday, on Friday, the court found that Jocelyn's mother is guilty. Not only her mother, not only the mother, the boyfriend, and the friend. All three of them are guilty of kidnapping as well as human trafficking, which means they were involved in Joshlin Smith's disappearance. And until today, nobody knows what happened to Joshlin Smith because they have refused to speak the truth. All we want to know is what happened to the child. An innocent 6-year-old child was sold for 20,000 rands. I don't know how inhumane that is. I don't know if there's anything that is more inhumane than that. Selling a child for 20,000 rands. That is absolutely disgusting. But I'm glad that our court has played its part, and it has found that the mother as well as the two co-accused are guilty of Jocelyn's disappearance. And now we wait for the sentencing. While we wait for the sentencing, I truly hope that at some stage we will know what happened to Joshlin Smith sooner rather than later. And many of us are hoping that she is still alive. She will be found alive. But, it's difficult for the truth to come out if the people that were involved in her disappearance, that the mother and their friends and the boyfriend, are not speaking. So I'm really glad that the court has found that the three are guilty, and I'm hoping that the truth will come out. I don't know what you made of that story. Please feel free to go into the comment section to share your thoughts and views on the Joshlin Smith's case. And the third story that stood out for me, it has to be the national budget. You remember that in February, we had the national budget, which was supposed to be passed, and it was not even tabled. There was the original budget, and then there was another one that was tabled, and it was passed. Well, the fiscal framework was passed in Parliament, and there were parties that supported it. We can mention the likes of Action SA, the ANC, BOSA, what other party am I forgetting? BOSA, Rise Mzansi, PAC, all IFP, all of those parties, they supported it. And they gave different reasons why they were supporting it. Some said it's a temporary measure, that's why they are supporting it. Some said it's a responsible thing to do because if we don't have a budget, basic needs that are needed by, it could be your hospitals, education, they won't be able to fulfill those as government. So they had to support this budget. But there were parties that were against this budget, this 0.5% increase in VAT specifically, and the processes that were followed. I'm mentioning the likes of MK Party, the DA, EFF. In fact, after the budget or the fiscal framework was passed, the DA and the EFF went to court to challenge it in court. They challenged it in court, and successfully so. They challenged it. The court agreed with the EFF and the DA to say the processes that were followed were not correct, and therefore the budget or the fiscal framework is null and void. So basically, we don't have a budget currently as a country. But what I found interesting is that all political parties are claiming victory. All of them. They all are saying we are responsible for the VAT reversal. It's everyone's victory. From the ANC. The ANC is saying, no, we won. We didn't want this VAT increase. We too didn't want this VAT increase. That's what the ANC is saying. And then you ask yourself the question, but the minister is from the ANC. If the ANC didn't want the VAT increase, why did we have this proposal to begin with? But that's where we are. The ANC saying they didn't want it, but we had the proposal. And if we're speaking the truth, if it was before last year's elections where the ANC had the majority, we would be having the VAT increase, because ANC was able to table whatever that it wants, and because they had the majority, they would vote for it, even if the other political parties didn't agree. Thank you to the GNU, and thank you to, the 40% that the ANC got. Now they can't just pass things as they wish. Now, they need the buy-in from other political parties to pass things in parliament. So I don't believe that the ANC didn't want the VAT increase, whether it's 2% or 0.5 or 1%. But also the political parties that voted with the ANC, they are saying it's their victory. I'm talking about the likes of Action SA, BOSA, Rise Mzansi, PAC. They too are saying, we won because we told you that it's a temporary measure. And it was temporary. It was reversed before it was even implemented. So we told you, what happened is what we promised you. In fact, they are saying because Minister Kodongwana announced this before the court case or the court judgment, therefore it's their victory. While on the other side, you've got the DA saying it's our victory because the minister reached out to the DA's lawyers. At first, the ANC refused, or rather disputed that there was an out of court settlement. But later on, when the minister had his press conference, he did admit that there was an out of court settlement. So the DA is claiming victory because of that out of court settlement. So the DA is saying the ANC, or rather the minister's lawyers, reached out to our lawyers for a settlement. So if we didn't take them to court, the ANC, or rather the minister, was still going to go ahead with the budget that included 0.5%. On the other hand, you have the EFF saying it's our victory because the courts agreed with everything that we said in courts. If you look at the judgment, the EFF says, read the judgment, read our arguments and read the judgment. If you compare the two, you will see that the courts agreed with our argument, not DA's argument, but our argument. That's what the EFF is saying. And then I saw the MK party. The MK party is saying we are the only political party that went to the street to disagree with the VAT increase. Therefore, it's our victory. We are the only political party that went to the street. It's our victory. Whose victory is it anyway? Who's fooling who? I don't know. But I've mentioned already, I don't believe that the ANC won. If what would have been a win, what would have been a win for the ANC is for the VAT increase and for the budget to pass, because that's what the ANC wanted. And that's what the ANC would have done in the past where they had the majority. I don't think it's a victory for the political parties, the smaller political parties that voted with the ANC. Because Minister Kodongwana said there is no proposal from the other parties that has convinced him not to increase VAT, that is feasible, that will yield the necessary results or the desired outcome. Therefore, he was left with no choice but to increase VAT. So if the other parties convinced the minister to change his decision, he would not have said that in the affidavits that he filed in court. So I don't believe that the smaller parties won here. I don't think they won. The MK party, They say they are the only ones that went to the street and protested against this, but I don't think that protest convinced the minister to withdraw the budget. Honestly, that's just my view. I don't think the protest that they went to the street to protest against the VAT increase is the reason we don't have this 0.5 increase this year and another one next year. And then you've got the DA and the EFF who went to court. Those are the people that I think they won. That's just my view. Those are the people that I think won, because without them going to court, without them legally challenging this proposal and the fiscal framework, the processes that were followed, I don't believe we would be where we are today. I actually believe we would be at a point that the VAT would have been increased. The banks that have started sending us SMSs would have implemented the VAT increase. So in my view, this victory belongs to the DA and the EFF. And of course, the people of South Africa. We all benefited from it because we've tightened our belts. We don't have any space to tighten our belts any further. How were we going to survive? How were we going to survive if the ANC and Action SA and all the other parties had its way? How were we going to survive? Honestly. So I'm glad that the EFF as well as the DA went to court, because I believe those are the actions that led to this budgets being halted. Now back to the drawing board. Now we are looking forward to budget 3.0, because original budget 2.0 failed, and now we are looking forward to budget 3.0. I don't know what you made of that whole saga, and I'm not sure if I've covered everything that I had planned to cover on it, because there's so much that has happened when it comes to the budget. But please feel free to go into the comment section and tell me your thoughts and views. I would really love to know your thoughts when it comes to all this budget saga. It's been really crazy. So I would also like to know, who do you think is responsible for the VAT increase not happening? So which political party deserves credit? All of them are claiming that it's their victory. But who do you think won this one for us? Who? Please go into the comment section and share your thoughts and views. The last story that I would like to look at is MacG. So MacG, on his podcast and Chill, he spoke about Minnie Dlamini, and bebekhuluma ngokuthi usehlukene with her boyfriend. And I watched that episode. During the conversation, MacG said there's something wrong with Minnie. And then he went on and referenced Minnie's private parts. I wouldn't want to say what he said. But as a podcaster and someone that really loves Podcast and Chill, I'm a huge fan of Podcast and Chill. Immediately when MacG said that, it just did not sit well with me. It didn't sit well with me. Because I know that sometimes we want content, especially as podcasters, and we sometimes will say, it's fair game. You are a celebrity, so you are in public, and your life is public, and we are allowed to comment about some of the things that you do in public, and your relationships if they are public. All fair, and I agree. If a relationship is in public, we may comment when it ends. And they were well within their rights when they commented about the relationship itself. But what makes you comment about somebody else's private part? Honestly, that for me was it just didn't sit well with me. And I don't agree with those that are saying that Podcast and Chill should be closed, that it should be shut down, it should be cancelled. I don't agree with that narrative. But I do agree that MacG needs to apologize, and he needs to refrain from doing things for the sake of content, doing things for the sake of clicks and likes and views. You know, you need to have some sort of credibility, maintain some credibility as a human being. There are things that are just a no-go area. And for me, what he did, that's just low. That's just low. And I hope those who are close to him will find it in their hearts. Well, he needs to find it in his heart to apologize. But those who are close to him will go and whisper in his ear to say, my guy, no, man, this is not it. This is not how you fish for views and likes and comments and all of that. Nah. He might say it is truth, which might as well be, but that's just not something you say about another human being. They're unacceptable. I'm sorry. You don't say that. I don't agree with what MacG has done. As a fan of Podcast and Chill, I do not agree with what MacG has done. I don't agree that it should be cancelled. No, the Podcast and Chill should not be cancelled. But MacG should find it in his heart to admit that he was out of line and withdraw what he said and apologize to Minnie. He really needs to apologize to Minnie. That was uncalled for. That's my truth, and I'm sticking to it. This is Podcast Radio and Stuff. What are your thoughts on those stories that I shared with you today? Maybe you were part of the march that took place. It's called the March in March. So maybe if you did that, or maybe you have a view on that, please feel free to go into the comment section and share your thoughts. And a whole lot of other stories that happened this week. I did say that we had a lot of stories that happened this week. Please go into the comment section to share your thoughts and views. This is Podcast Radio and Stuff. I'm Ntobeko Khuluse. Catch me tomorrow with my partner in crime, Dogozo Chapa, as we are having a beautiful episode. You do not want to miss it at 9 a.m. on a Sunday. I'm Ntobeko Khuluse. Bye-bye.